Hi, welcome to Hospitality Live with Rupesh. Each week, we feature an industry leader that will share the latest trends and the best strategies to help you grow. Now, welcome your host, Rupesh Patel.
Hey guys, super excited about this conversation. Guys, welcome to episode number 38, hospitality. I always get it wrong. Hang on a second. I got to turn this music off. It's in the background, hitting my ears hard. All right, guys. Hey, welcome to the show. And I have a little bit of new setup in my office, in my little studio that I have. So I'm gonna kind of get used to it. I have a screen now, which I can read all your comments. So I'm excited about that. And are we live? That's what I want to know. Are we live? Because I changed a few settings in the show, and I don't know if we're live. So comment, let me know if we're live, and if you can hear me. And guys, I'm super excited about this conversation because it is important to all of us right now that we learn and figure out what's going on in our industry. And hang on, we are live. I see it. We're live. All right, good. Let's put the volume down there. All right, cool. Hey guys. All right, so today's topic is do more with less. How technology would transform the future of our hotels, right? And I'm super excited about this gentleman that's coming on. He's been in the industry for quite some time and he's doing big things. So I'm super excited about that. And all right, guys, so we're talking about tech and how it's going to change your business, how it's going to change our business, and then how we're all going to evolve around technology, right? Because right now, things might just be picking up for your hotel, or you might be struggling to even get rooms filled up, and you're going to use tech and some of these things we're going to talk about today to transform and improve business, right? And a lot of it's through communication. A lot of it's going to be through these really cool things that you may have not thought about in the past, but now you're kind of forced to use these things to make it easier on your guests. So I'm excited about that. Guys, today's episode, and by the way, yesterday I posted how many years have you been in the hospitality industry? And guys, comment right now and let me know how long you guys have been in the industry. And we've had over, I think, 300 or 400 people comment and let us know that there's some people that have been in the industry for 50 years, which has been amazing, right? I've been in it since 1989, right? 89 when my parents first bought their first property, and doing the front desk, doing housekeeping, stripping rooms, kind of did everything, swept the parking lot with an actual broom. There was no blowers back in the day, or we didn't afford one. We couldn't afford it, right? So comment, let us know how long you've been doing this. And guys, welcome to the show, everybody. There's amazing comments here. Matt, Scott, Nancy, Kevin, Jason, 25 years, 20 years, 12 years. Hey, if you just started, it's awesome. If you've been in the industry for quite some time, welcome. And I'm excited that we could all continue learning, right? That's what we're all here for. And guys, this episode is brought to you by my website. This is kind of my passion project that I put together like 7 years ago that has now helped over 4,000 hotels with their marketing operations and some of those things. Jump on to SmartGuests.com for our creative hospitality tools. There's everything from print collateral if you need signage for your hotel, to even simple things like the customized candy bar, right? That you can offer guests as they're checking in. And it's a great way to improve your guest satisfaction score. So shout out to my own company, SmartGuests, as a sponsor for the show. And guys, I'm super excited to talk about, everyone said last week that they wanted to hear more of the mindset thing, or because I said, some people are like, you should just get right down to the show instead of talking about, all the things that you talk about in the beginning. It's the first 5 minutes. And I was like, you know what? I kind of like this where I'm sharing a mindset and insight on something. And it's helped us get through these difficult times in the past few weeks, right? Or past 3 months now. And recently I actually posted a thing like letting go of a lot of things in our life is a game changer. And it's been a game changer for my life, right? I've let go of a lot of things that I don't have control over, that I'm not interested in. It's relationships, it's my actions, it's things that I was thinking about that negatively affected me at work or even at home. And I've kind of had to change the way I think. So comment if you've ever done something like this where you've kind of just focused on only the things that you can control, right? You can't control like if you're going to come back to work. You can't control if someone else is going to do something for you. That's why I also posted like, hey, I'm not waiting for anybody to give me a handout or give me a job or give me an opportunity. I'm going out there every single day, connecting with great people like yourself, and really understanding what I need to do to be successful, right? And that's a great mindset when you can think of like how you're going to grow moving forward, right? We're talking about the future today, and how you could do that is by getting rid of all the things that you can't control and putting a positive mindset into your head, right? And I've been doing that, and it's helped me so much. So I'm hoping it's helped you too, and I'm hoping that if you haven't thought about that, that's something that you really focus on while things are slow and while you have time for yourself, right? Get rid of all the things that you can't control, because there's no reason to be mad about something, or that relationship that you had that you don't really have control over. It may be a friend or anybody. You know, try to get to that position where if you can't control it, or you can't change things, that you kind of let go of and move on, because it's kind of affecting all of us. And it would be affecting me all the time. Like, oh, I want this one person to like me, or I want to do this one thing, and it's not happening. And I would just really focus on it instead of just moving on. And it's also talking about things that you are not good at, right? Which is also a mindset. Like, if you're not good at something, give it to somebody else, delegate it to somebody else, so you could do all the things that you really enjoy. Because guess what? Coming to work is, should be important to all of us, and being passionate about something is also important. I've been coaching a bunch of people these last couple of weeks. I gave away 25 30-minute free coaching sessions a couple of weeks ago. So I've been doing 2 each day for the last couple of weeks now, and it's been amazing to see all these wonderful people share their story, but then also get some insight on how they feel emotionally, and then understand what they're doing to kind of keep going, right? And so keep going with that mindset of only focusing on things that you can control, right? All right, so now we're let's get onto the topic, right? Let's get onto the topic, guys. A bunch of people on the show, guys. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And guys, by the way, I'm giving away $100 gift card to SmartGuests.com. So the most person that's active on this show during the show, I will choose at the end. And so I'm going to be watching the screens. I have 2 screens on both sides. I'm going to be watching the screens and making sure that we connect, and you guys get the value that you're looking for. So, all right, so on to the show. All right, so our next, or the featured guest for today, is the CEO of HotelTechReport.com. If you don't know this company, you're going to get to know it, because 55,000 hoteliers, hotel professionals like yourself, trust Hotel Tech Report to give them honest reviews and talk about technology in a way that nobody else is talking about. So there's a #1 online resource for reviews for anything that has to do with technology in our space. So let me bring him on. It's Jordan Hollander. Jordan, welcome to the show.
What's going on, Rupesh? Thanks for having me.
Listen, I've had 2 cups of coffee, and I'm going to be, after this, I'm going to probably have a 3rd one, just because I am wired up and I'm super excited about this. I love tech just as much as you do. Tell us how you got into the space, and kind of your hotel background.
Yeah, so you've got me beat by a couple years. My experience in the hotel industry kind of indirectly started around 2010 when I was working in the stock market. And so I was an equity analyst for a mutual fund out in Newport Beach, which is in Southern California here. And we were invested in a bunch of hospitality stocks. So we invested in Wyndham, Sabre, TripAdvisor, and then a lot of restaurant stocks as well, like Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and some fun ones. And that was where I really first got exposed to hospitality. I then used that experience and went into private equity, where I was investing in boutique hotels in the Bay Area. So kind of using my stock valuation techniques and migrating it over to the real estate world. So after that, I went to business school at Northwestern in Chicago at the Kellogg School of Management. While I was there, I was actually working at Starwood Hotels on the SPG partnerships team. So really not dealing with operations level stuff at Starwood, but more about SPG program optimization. So like all those amazing points that travelers love, and consultants specifically, how do we get them the most value possible and get them into experiences like you and I were talking about, Rupesh, where you could use SPG moment points to get into a music festival or something else that really incentivizes you to be part of that program. And so while I was there, my identical twin brother, who's now my co-founder, was starting a digital concierge business for hotels, and basically asked me to join him. And I said, I told him that I wasn't really planning on going into entrepreneurship at the time, but that it sounded like a really fun experience. So I'd give it a shot while I was still in business school, working on it part-time. We eventually got that product into an accelerator with Sam Zell, who's the billionaire behind Equity Residential. He also owns, I think he owned the Conrad Chicago at the time, so he has some hotel exposure.
Mhm.
and basically use that to get into an accelerator with Pritzker Group Venture Capital. So obviously the founding family behind Hyatt. And during that time with Pritzker, we were selling directly into hotels. So all those emails you guys are getting from technology vendors, we were those guys. And we weren't getting a ton of responses. And so our advisor at Pritzker at the time basically told us to go out to a lot of the hotels in the local Chicago area and just ask them. And they're like, this is going to be kind of awkward. Like, go out and ask them why they're not responding to your emails, figure out what's wrong with your offer. And it was a brutal time. It was super hot Chicago summer. We spoke to over 200 hoteliers in a 3-week period, literally going door to door. And we kind of found—
Was that embarrassing? Was that embarrassing?
Oh,
Like, hey, why didn't you open my email that I just sent you? I saw that you opened it up. Why didn't you? Like,
it was brutal, and it was humiliating, and it was humbling for sure. But it was also the most valuable thing that we did, because we kind of came to these insights at the end of that, which our advisor Ablorde had kind of guided us through as a shaman through these insights. And basically what we found is that as a hotelier, like when we were reaching out as a technology company, they were getting about 200 emails a month from vendors like us. And not all technology, but a lot of technology. I'm sure a lot of you guys are feeling this too. And so half of those vendors said we're the #1 vendor in the space. And the other half said we're such a unique product that there's nothing like us on the market. We have AI and all this crazy technology. And the hoteliers were like, guys, we don't know who's selling what, or what's #1, or what's unique.
Yeah.
And so we just don't buy anything. And we're like, that's a really interesting dynamic.
That happens every day.
Exactly. And so so the other dynamic that we found, so we're like, okay, well, this is why they're not responding to our emails. The other dynamic that we found is that as an innovative new product for a hotelier, let's say you're a GM in Tampa, like if you bring on our product and you go to your owner and you say, hey, you have to try our company is called City Key. It's actually still the LLC of Hotel Tech Report today. Little known fact. But so if a hotelier, if a GM goes to their owner and says, hey, you should bring on City Key. This is an awesome product. These guys rock. It's going to completely change our business. And something goes wrong with our product at the property level, the owner, which is you, Rupesh, is going to go to the GM and say, what the heck, man? Like, you brought on this software and you told me this was the good stuff and it's not working.
Yeah.
But if it does work, you're like, great, you did your job, right? So there's really no personal incentive for that GM to bring on new software. And that was kind of where the insight came with Hotel Tech Report. On the first hand, we we're like, let's create a place where your GM, Rupesh, could, instead of saying, I need you to sign up with City Key, they're going to say, hey, check out their profile on Hotel Tech Report. You can read real reviews from hoteliers like us and make a decision for yourself. I really like these guys, but here's an easy way to get all of the information you need that's completely unbiased, so you can make a decision for yourself. So it offloads the responsibility for that GM and allows them to introduce new technology to the owners in a way that they couldn't do before. And the last piece is, like, all of our technology rankings are based on real data. So based on feedback from hoteliers, every single review in our platform is verified. And so we're able to basically give rankings that are based on data and based on what people who use those products think. And so we could offload that, we're #1 or we're so different that there's no one like us. We could show you a list of all the comparable products, get you demo requests, make recommendations based on the data in the platform, and make this really easy. And so, like, these are kind of the tactical things that we do. And like you said, we help over 50,000 hoteliers every month find software for their businesses. But at the core of it, when you look at technology in any other industry, right? FinTech, retail tech, technology is the sexiest, most fun aspect that everyone wants to touch. And in hospitality, when we came into this, that really wasn't the case. It was the thing that we were all afraid of, right? And so we like to joke and kind of make fun of our president here a little bit. Sorry for getting a little political, but we like to joke that we want to make hotel tech fun again. We want it to be something we believe that it's something that's aspirational. It's something that every hotelier needs to understand. And Rupesh, you're the best example of this, right? Like, you are a master at LinkedIn, social media, and like digital marketing. Most hoteliers don't know this at all. So you've evolved and you've developed this skill set. It's completely transformed your career. And now you're able to transform other people's careers. And marketing is one facet of technology, but there's a million others. And, technology is a tool for innovation and for changing what we do. And we'll get into that on the show today. And we want hoteliers to start thinking, like, this is the screwdriver, right? Like, this isn't about AI. This is like the screwdriver that helps you do all those things that you already do as a hospitality business better, faster, more efficient, and adapt when something is thrown at you and the times change. This is what you need to adapt quickly, because guess what? You can't remodel your hotel in 30 minutes, but you can try a new software tool that's going to completely transform you, just like the ones that you talked about on your show last week on the marketing tools episode.
Absolutely. I think every single person, whatever type of hotel you're, independent, branded, full service, limited service, mid-scale, extended stay, I think everybody has an opportunity right now to make a huge impact and really change the way they operate with technology. And I've already said this in the past shows, two things that are going to drastically change our industry, I personally think, in my opinion, is going to be housekeeping and the way you clean, right? Sanitization, and then tech on how you communicate, right? And those things are going to kind of move forward beyond everything else in the industry, right? Beyond a lot of different things. Two things that are going to be really important to guests and our hotel both. So GMs own everybody, and then guests too. Like, they don't want to stand in front of the front desk and touch all these different things. And currently, while this virus is out there, that's what I personally think. Guys, there's a bunch of people online. Guys, shout out to everybody. And Jordan, shout out to your brother, Adam, twin brother. We talked about this before the show. He never gets the love, although he does most of the work. So shout out to Adam out there. I know he's probably watching, or at least
he's watching and working right now.
Adam, shout out to you. We know what you're doing in the background, and we appreciate it. But all right, so there's a ton of people on. Guys, if you have a question on tech, please comment here, and we'll try to get to your answer. If not, we are definitely going to answer them afterwards. Is that okay, Jordan?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
And listen, we're going to be giving away a $100 gift card to SmartGuests.com. So please be engaging here on this show, and there's a lot of people on, so I'm excited about this conversation. All right, so let's get into it. What are the top 5 things that hotels should focus on when it comes to technology, no matter what type of hotel they are?
Yeah, totally. So, and Rupesh, we kind of talked about it a little bit before the show. The first thing that I want to say is, like, when, and this is more in relation to coronavirus and the kind of situation today, is right when all this broke out, Bill Gates was on a Facebook Live, actually, with TED Talks. And they asked him kind of like, okay, you prophesized this, 5 years ago, whatever. What should we be doing? And his response was really interesting. It was basically that it was almost already too late, right? You can't produce PPE equipment overnight. You can't have the infrastructure to create a vaccine quickly overnight and collaborate globally from an R&D perspective. And you can't create virus quarantine protocols overnight that are going to be effective. We were talking about this earlier, where, like, the Florida beaches were open and everyone was really critical, but now they're finding out that there was no transmission on those beaches for spring break. And it was actually a really good decision because they were very surgical. Whereas here in California, we shut down everything, and there was really not a ton of reason to believe that we needed to shut down the beaches and hiking trails. And so I think the same thing is true here. Like, there are certainly a lot of things that we'll get into on this show today that you can do to change. But the problem is that if you don't have the right infrastructure to evolve, right? Like, there's like the lean startup methodology. If you don't have the infrastructure, if you don't have a PMS that can quickly onboard a new guest messaging platform through an open API, we'll explain what all this is for those of you guys who don't know. If you don't have that, if you don't have a PMS who you can call up and say, hey, we need this new platform, we want to onboard it quickly, we can tell you all the awesome technology tools that are out there today, but it's going to take you 3 months to onboard that new tool. And that's just not something that you can afford in this day and age. And tools like, Rupesh, a lot of the stuff that you talked about in your marketing show, like BombBomb, we're like, okay, I'm going to go try this software. This is awesome. It's going to grow my business. This is the mentality that hotels need to have. They need to have the core infrastructure that allows them to innovate. Because, like we said, you can't change your rooms overnight. You can't turn over your entire staff and find a new team that has different expertise overnight. What you can do is you could set up new processes and technologies at the core of that. So that's the first piece. The second piece is really thinking about, especially, I know that you have a pretty large branded audience. It's like, and we won't get too much into this before we hop in, but on the brand level, like we have clients who work with over 150 Hilton properties, and it's difficult for those owners to get to Hilton's IT team to say, hey, we are breaking brand standards because we love this software so much. And what you guys really need to do is advocate with your brands and really help them, especially in a time when there's no playbook, right? Nobody, we'll talk about cleaning and housekeeping and all this stuff later. the rules of the game have changed, and what you really need to do is you need to advocate for yourself. You know, Marriott has 125 hotels in Miami, and so they're thinking about 125 hotels. You need to take ownership over your property, even if you're, you know, a branded hotel. Like when we were at Starwood, we had I think it was the Sheraton Times Square, I want to say, that the owner had so much clout with our development team that they were like, you know what, guys, we're going to have our own vanity website that we're going to drive direct bookings to, because there's 50 other Starwood at the time properties in New York City. We're going to take control over our destiny, and we want to have that flexibility. And the team was really receptive to it. So I think, especially in a time like this, when you think about those brand standards, you want to be respectful. You want to keep the consistent experience, because that's what the brand is all about. But you also need to make sure to advocate for yourself. And so having that core PMS that integrates so that you can have a flexible architecture, and then also advocating for yourself with the brands if you're a branded property, is really, really critical. And it's like the start of all the other things that we'll talk about here.
Yeah, and I kind of look at hotels, like I wish 10 ago now, or longer than that now, that I wish hotels would go to that platform where WordPress is like a plug and play, right? If anybody knows what WordPress is, I'm sure people that have a side hustle, right, know what WordPress is the biggest platform in the world, where majority of websites are hosted on WordPress's platform, right? So why can't hotels have that, where you plug and play different things that your property needs depending on what it needs, right? Basically, it doesn't matter what size it is. I would love for somebody to come up with that, where if I need a chat in my website, boom, I slide in chat and plug it into my website. If I needed this one thing, as far as communication, I plug it in, right? That's what WordPress does. I mean, it's so powerful, where I feel like we're years behind. So if somebody came out with that, I think they would be like, I think it would be a big thing, especially for all types of hotels. Now, I know you can get a WordPress website for your or WordPress, website for your independent hotel, but I wish they would provide that for everybody, right? Where it's so flexible. Like if you want to add something, you can add it right now.
Yeah. There's like the brand site, and then everyone needs to have their own independent control, because like they need to be driving traffic to that brand site, and that's the value that they provide you, and that's kind of like the OTA effect amongst the brands. And then you need that tool that says, okay, well, if they're incentivized to drive me business to my property and the Hampton Inn down the street, and and the other property that's kind of within the same chain scale, I need to be able to stick up for myself and acquire more guests when I have those need periods. So I think vanity websites has been a way to do that, but it's expensive to kind of have both. And so it's really, I think this time in specific, as you get more saturation of brands, so like 125 properties of Marriott within the Miami area, with each new property, there's more value to me as an SPG Marriott traveler, which is great for owners because you have a bigger loyalty base, but it also saturates the market. And so each owner has a little bit less incremental value. So if they don't grow the user base in excess of those installs of the hotels, then you start seeing dilution. And that's where you really need to think about the brand value proposition. And ultimately, that's why the brands really need to be leaning into technology, getting smarter with it. Like if you think about any IT procurement, it's the same as any other procurement, right, Rupesh? Like if you have a core good at your business or even at your hotel, you're not going to rely on one supplier for it, because if that supplier gets hurt or they raise prices on you or you can't reach them, you need to fall back on something else. And that's what a lot of supply chains, especially in the medical space, with not being able to get medical equipment and pharmaceuticals from China today, like that's what the hotel brands need to do, is they need to have, instead of just like one vendor they've been chummy with for 40 years, what they need to do is they need 5 certified vendors that all have a standard feature set, and you as an owner can then choose. And also they're going to negotiate preferable pricing for you as an owner to say you're going to get 20% off what the market rate is on these products. You choose which one you want, and you can switch back and forth, and they can track the analytics between those and maintain close relationships. And so I think what this period is going to do is it's going to force the brands to open up the ways that they think about technology. I know we really want to focus more on the property level technology today, but I think when it really comes to the core, the brands have such a massive footprint that's where this conversation really needs to start. The way that brands buy technology today is actually very similar to how it was when you had server-based systems 30 years ago, where they say, oh, this is the guy, or like, we're licensing this software and like all of our owners are going to use it. And then then now there's a lot of owners that are like, especially, we're talking about guest messaging and housekeeping, where you want to have something different, or you need special functionality for your property. And the brands really need to find ways to support that. And the owners have every right to ask for that. And it doesn't, and you should get the benefits of scale with that brand, but you should also get the benefits of product quality and service quality, because you are a valued customer of Hilton, Hyatt, Marriott, and those development offices owe it to you. And it's going to, whichever brand is able to really crack the code on IT procurement is going to have such a leg up, right? It's such a differentiator, and they're all chasing it by building some like little bits and pieces and what we call knickknacks in-house. They're like, oh, we're going to build this one app or functionality. But no, it's about a holistic architecture. And this is what we'll get into on the property side. And the brands that really define themselves in this next stage are going to be the ones who are able to do that. A great example is a company out of New York City. It's more on the smaller independent side, called Lifehouse, that's building a fully tech-enabled brand where they provide the CRS, meta-search, booking engine, PMS, everything for you, and they manage your operation at the centralized level. And I think the brands are, the guy Rami Zaiden was a former Sedell guy, so like very, very sharp on the development world. I think a lot of the brands are going to start taking cues from those kinds of companies.
Right. I think technology is going to be everything, and it's already been at a lot of hotels, right? What are some other things that we named a few? What are some other things that are going to transform the industry? We're talking when we're talking about tech, and you have on your website, Hotel Tech Report, you have a bunch of different categories, and we could probably go through a few of them. But I know there's different parts of the industry that are going to dramatically change right now as they see business coming in, and then different channels of how they're going to get that business in, and then what they're going to do when the guests come onto the property. So where can we start?
Yeah, so let's start at the baseline stuff, like the par for the course stuff, right? Like, so this is contactless check-in. We're all hearing it. You've got a category on Hotel Tech Report called mobile check-in, where you can kind of get custom recommendations based on data for your property. You need to have contactless check-in, so that can happen via an app. It can happen via a kiosk. There's a lot of ways that can happen. You need to have that keyless entry. So that's kind of stuff that is not going to be surprising to anyone, right?
Right.
And
what happens if your hotel doesn't have it? Like, what if you're not ready for it? You can't afford to retrofit all your locks and go back and change a couple hundred locks to do that keyless entry. Like, how do you make it easy?
So there's
affordable?
So there's a company called Stay My Way that actually is able to work with your existing lock infrastructure and create and layer software on top of that, so that you won't actually need to replace all of the locks in your hotel. And I'm sure there are some. It's called Stay My Way. And so there definitely, there will be certain systems that it won't be compatible with, but those guys, there are a few companies that have focused on how do we provide this service without requiring the hotel to kind of upgrade all their locks. And as a technology company, hardware is a really crummy business to be in, and there are huge companies that have done an amazing job. And it's you can create a very big business, but it's very hard because you need to have the procurement side. You need to buy all of that inventory, and so all of us tech guys prefer to be in the software world because it's much less capital intensive. And so there are definitely some companies that are able to now do that and provide that upgrade without actually replacing your locks.
I love that. I think a lot of hotels would appreciate that, because a lot of hotels have that, or the older lock system that costs a big chunk to retrofit or to change
100%,
out.
100%.
Especially with now the keyless entry with your phone, right, or with your device. And I think that's already a big thing, and more brands and more hotels are moving that way. I definitely think that. What else?
Yeah, and
what else as far as the experience of check-in?
Yeah, and even along those lines, if you still can't afford something like Stay My Way, where you don't have to improve your locks, like what you can do is there's basically like UV light that it sanitizes your phone, right, and takes all the germs and bacteria off your phone. So that's kind of like a lightweight MVP kind of bootstrapping way to basically put the keys in there and show your guests, let them read the information on those sanitization systems, put the keys in there before they actually go to the guest. So that's another way that obviously isn't as optimal, but if that's all you've got, you can order those on Amazon.
What are they called?
I don't have the name on me. I'll get it to you to kind of post on the social media right after the show. But there's a bunch of providers that do it. I think one of them is actually on Shark Tank, but it's usually you use it for your mobile device. It's kind of looks like a mini coffin. You put the room key in there, you close it up, and it takes about 30 seconds, and you've got a sanitized room key.
How awesome would that be if you could do that in front of the guest's eye, so they see that things are, or if they just wanted to sanitize their phone because they have been all over the place. They might have been to the airport, and you can come to the front desk and drop your phone in there, close it, and have a process where you sanitize your phone. And that's just one step that your hotel's doing to make people feel comfortable that
Yep.
you guys care about their well-being and safety, right? I think that's
Yep.
big when it comes to making people feel, because a lot of it is just a perception of understanding and that marketing and the positioning of what your hotel is going to do, and then actually do it, right? But it's going to be that messaging that you show guests pre-stay and then
Yep.
during their stay. That's going to be very important for them to
Yeah.
feel comfortable, and then tell other people about it too, because that's the post, right?
Yeah, it needs to be just demonstrable, right? Like they need to see you take an action that makes them feel comfortable. And so like obviously some of that will be some show and showmanship involved.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like that's what people need to feel comfortable. I think what we'll see is like certifications coming out of this. Like there's certain checkpoints for how to clean a room. We'll get into that. And there's companies like Pure Rooms and ZenX that are doing some interesting work there.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk
think
about
that's
that
going to be
stuff.
huge.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that. All right, so on property, some of the things that you could do as far as making them feel comfortable. There's contactless checking in, or if there's contact checking in, what other technology can they use to check that person in and kind of make them feel great about staying with you guys or staying with us?
So I mean the check-in really all revolves around the PMS, and so like there's a company that's out of Europe called Muse Systems that has a really interesting check-in process that they've innovated, and they kind of took a cue from the airlines, right? And like you go and you check into Southwest and you get your boarding pass on your mobile device. You load it into your Apple Wallet if you have an Apple OS device,
Yeah.
and you pull up to that check-in system, which is by Asa Abloy, which is usually it's the same company that does a lot of these hotel door locks. And basically it just pops up on your phone. And so Muse kind of took a cue from that, and they developed a reg card that loads up onto your mobile device when you pull up to the front desk. And so basically like everything is mobile there. They have a kiosk that you can basically scan into your hotel. Eventually you can actually connect that into the door lock system, but you need the right infrastructure for that as well. So I think if you can't make it a totally contactless check-in, it's like you need to have mobile check-in that's compatible with your property management system so that your guests can get all the information they need beforehand. There's also some cool companies, like there's one called Canary Technologies and another one called Certify, Certifi, that will do all of the reg cards and documents via digital in an authorized and compliant PCI compliant way. And so basically what that enables you to do is makes it so that you don't have to have the guests signing documents there and like 5 feet away from you at the desk, or like even what I think is even more awkward is like the front desk agent stands back 6 feet and then like they come up and grab the thing, the reg card, and then the guest stands back 6 feet. Like that is like the most painful experience. And so any ways that you could mitigate that friction. And look, this stuff saves time, it saves money, and like I always like to say, like don't chase shiny objects on the tech world, and think about when Bezos was starting Amazon, everyone's like, oh my God, you're a genius! Like, how did you predict the future? And he's like, I didn't. Like, I'm not basing my business off of what I'm predicting the future to be. I'm basing my business off of the things that I know won't change in the future. And so for Amazon, that meant consumers want goods at really low prices, and they want it to be really convenient with great service. That stuff's not going to change. And that's what's made Amazon into the trillion-dollar business that it is today. And so for hotels, the important thing is as you're investing in these technologies, don't just think about, crap, like I got to adapt to this new regulation and blah, blah, blah. Of course, that stuff is important, and you need to adapt to what guests demand today. We're actually doing some research right now at Hotel Tech Report on that. But what you need to do is think about let's say that all this stuff goes away in the future. How does this technology fit into my guest journey, into my architecture? How does it lower costs? How does it make me more efficient? How does it deliver a better guest and more consistent guest experience? If you think about technology in that regard, you're going to be set. And there's one of my favorite authors is a former Navy SEAL named Jocko Willink. This guy is like the ultimate badass.
What's his name?
Jocko Willink. So he has a book called Extreme Ownership that's just absolutely incredible. And now he has a company called Echelon Front that does leadership coaching to Fortune 500 CEOs. And he's talking about a situation in Ramadi where he's just getting shot at basically on his first deployment from all directions. and he looks around at his team and just, calmly says, like, his guys, like, we're getting shot out from everywhere. What do we do? Like, this is crazy. All his rookies on the team that they're, are basically freaking out. And he's like, what are you going to do about it? Let's take an action. Let's prioritize, plan, and execute. And let's look to the future. And like in a situation like this, we're getting shot at from all directions, right? Like, we need to stay calm, take a deep breath, which Rupesh, you as a leader in your properties is just amazing at. And just think, okay, in the future, where do I want to be? Like, if we're getting shot at in this building over here, how do we get to that building in the safest way possible and make sure that we're positioned well and that building's not going to be even worse than this one was? And so on the technology front, we want to think about holistic architecture and long-term planning to think about how these technologies can improve our business in a holistic way. And obviously they're stop gaps in the short term and they help us adapt and evolve for the next stage. But this is the whole issue with hospitality, is kind of going back to that Bill Gates, TED talk, is like, we needed to be planning for this, 5-10 years ago. Like, all the technology is here. It's on us to be prepared. And in many ways, like, it is really late to be planning, obviously, now as we get closer to kind of opening up certain facets of the economy. But we need to be thinking about the next kind of crisis and what that might hold. And we need to have a flexible system to do that. And so this kind of gets into the next kind of what we call par for the course technology, is remote operations management. So obviously we're able a little bit more and more each day to go back on property. Rupesh, you were talking about like the changes in housekeeping, and I'd love to kind of get into that. But ultimately, what you want to have in any business is you want to have flexibility. And so if you have housekeeping management software with checklists and operation software with checklists in it, it doesn't matter what the regulation is. You just add a new check because it's a dynamic software, right? Like, you add that new checkbox. And in my world, in the technology world, and I don't know what you use for project management, Rupesh, but there's Atlassian and Jira and Trello, and like, it doesn't matter what changes in our business. Like, we just have to tweak those software tools. And I think the same thing is true for hotels. So like, if you need to operate your hotel remotely, how do you ensure that your engineers and your housekeeping team are hitting all those checkpoints, taking pictures of every single step that they took, so that worst case scenario, you have a guest who comes on property and claims that they got sick at your property, you literally have documentation that's like, here's all the things that we did to clean our property and to ensure your safety. And you can literally show them the picture of the room, of that checklist of everything that you did and exactly when it happened, who did it, how it happened, et cetera. And I think that's super important. And the same thing goes on the engineering side. Like, nobody could have like known that we would have to operate our hotels without any guests in it. Like, nobody, like, this is a crazy situation that like, this is like, I was with my grandma the other day when you called me, Rupesh, and she grew up in the Depression and she's never seen anything like this. Right. And so you have to be able to plan for the unexpected. And so something like, engineering software that kind of, a lot of the housekeeping software companies kind of provide this holistic ecosystem for it. Well, if you don't run your plumbing, you like, for this time period, you could come back and have legionnaires in your hotel, and you could have something that's worse than coronavirus. And so if you don't have the infrastructure to ensure that your engineers or housekeepers are flushing every toilet on a regular basis, you can get into a different kind of issue that could potentially be a worse building to run to when you're getting fired at right now. And so those are kind of the main things from a remote check. Like, so there's contactless check-in, and then there's operating your hotel remotely, just like, I'm here in my home, and we're all operating our businesses remotely as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a bunch of software out there that kind of connects the entire team together. And I know there's a bunch of different companies. I talked about Hello Shift is one of the companies that are on your website, as far as communication within just team members and how you relate. Because right now, back in the day, everybody would have a book, and I think we, at some of our properties, we still have that log book of some things, lost and found, the maintenance, a bunch of different checklists that we have in a log that you're like, oh, maintenance guys come to the front desk, so that's contact, right, with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And then also housekeeping, right? There's a bunch of logs that they have that are like in a log book. And guys, if you still have a log book, which is okay, because we're learning, we're all learning, and it's okay with a log book. I think we have a few log books too, and it's okay. But we're here to teach you on how you can make it efficient and what the future looks like for yourself, right? So comment if you have ever used a logbook in the last few years, or if you have converted over to a logbook, right? Or for a digital logbook. And I think Hello Shift is one. Jordan, what are some other software tools like that where you can communicate within the team, and like, if there's something broken in a room, like guest comes up to your room and says, hey, my AC doesn't work, that sends a ticket through an app, through a browser based. So it's not like a software that you're downloading to your computer. It's all browser based, web based, cloud based, and you connect and you communicate with your staff without even being at the front desk or being within, and a bunch of people are saying they do have it. And what are some software tools? I said HelloShift. What's some other ones?
Yeah, so Whistle is a really cool platform that has kind of the guest messaging and combined with some of the really lightweight task management functionality. And Whistle also really integrates deeply with Core, which is really popular amongst budget and mid-scale hotels for like the operations platform. There's obviously Alice that kind of goes a little bit more upscale in terms of their skew of their property base. There's a really cool company out of Europe, out of Austria called Hotel Kit that's doing a really interesting stuff, and they're coming over here in a big way. Hotel Kit, yes.
Okay.
And the founder Marius is actually he owns a hotel in Austria and then kind of piloted everything there, and now they're in over 1,000 hotels globally, and so they're doing some really cool work and just really lightweight, easy to use tools. There's another company called Beekeeper that's less about task management but more about that focus that you talk about, that is keeping your team connected, like culturally. So like, how do you get everyone on the same page when you have team members who are working multiple shifts and have them feel like a part of one cohesive team? And so Beekeeper is all about really getting to understand your team and service businesses. And they work in a lot of other verticals as well.
Yeah, and a bunch of comments are coming in. They're saying Slack, Core, there's a lot of software out there. And then we talked about this earlier, like it's great to have competition in this space because then you can get the best for what your property needs instead of just one tool. You're like, oh, I don't like it, but we have to use it. There's nothing else out there. Right? I love that there's competition, and competition thrives and especially in our hotel market where we're constantly moving. Things are changing. We're doing things differently than we did yesterday, right? And I love that. Totally. There's a bunch of applications out there and that you can read reviews on and figure out what makes sense for your property instead of just relying on the hotel next door or your friends. Because in the past we would call our buddies up and be like, hey, what are you using for specific anything, right? And they would be like, oh yeah, we're using this, and then all of a sudden we sign up for it just because my friend's using it, but we don't understand exactly what we need. Our location, you might be in a different you might have different clientele, you might have different guests that are staying with you compared to what your friend or your buddies, and you have to understand exactly what you need. So don't let the tech companies tell you what you need, but really understand like why they're offering this and how you can use it at your hotel. Because it's not cool just to get the software and be like, oh yeah, we use this one tool if it doesn't actually help you, right?
Yeah, and you find out later on that that kind of buying process. I mean, Rupesh, when I'm sure even StreamYard, which we're on right now, like you don't just hop into one. Like, sure, there's a lot of commodity feature functionality, but each company will have their unique flavor. They're going to have unique support, like the way that they support you as a client. How much do they really care? How quickly can you get in front of them? What are the integrations with your other systems? What feature functionality? And like, look, buying software is not like buying a table. When you buy software, SaaS stands for software as a service, and the service is a huge piece of that. And when you start to work with a company like the ones that we're mentioning, you're not just working with that company today. You're betting on that company in the future. And so you need to understand how quickly they're innovating and rolling out new features and where their product is going. Because like, let's say StreamYard, which we're on right now to kind of remove it from the hotel vertical. If you use StreamYard and they're like, LinkedIn isn't really a priority for us. And you're like, well, that's my thing is LinkedIn streaming. And that's not a priority on your roadmap that you're going to build new functionality to get me exposure. But these guys over here are doing that. That's something that you need to be aware of. And like, if you don't ask the right questions, if you don't read reviews about, StreamYard and talk with their teams and compare different products, that's where you really get hurt. And when I was on the private equity side, we had a situation where so I was ultimately the person making a decision about a digital marketing agency that we are going to use. And so I like now I like to think I'm pretty good at digital marketing, but I absolutely knew nothing about digital marketing at the time. But I was the guy who was supposed to give the thumbs up or thumbs down. And so I had my marketing manager at one of my properties come to me with recommendations. And she basically brought me like one agency that was like a 5-person agency out of Orange County here in California. And I was like, okay, so you provided me the name of an agency. She's like, yeah, I've used them before. And I was like, well, what are the services they provide? What's the pricing? How does it compare with other services on the market? we're about to spend $18,000 on a website and then spend $7,000 a month on retainer and ad spend with these guys.
Yeah,
and I literally have no comps. And so, as you're buying this software, like, you need to know what your options are. And these are strategic partners. It's not a table. It's someone who's going to be there as a partner for your business. And once we get into some of these other areas, we'll talk about the ways that software companies are helping clients right now. And if you have the right partners, like their customer support teams and account managers are the point people for you to get that knowledge you need. If you're not a digital marketing person and you're a GM, they're going to tell you what's going on in the market. They're working with thousands of other properties, and they're going to share best practices with you. So the really good ones are true strategic partners, and they're not just a vendor. As the term has kind of come to be known in this industry.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're saying they're not a vendor. It's like actually a partner of yours that's going to help you grow your revenue, grow communication, grow your team, grow your hotel. That's what we're looking for. We're not just looking for just growing our revenue, but we're looking at all these different things that are going to bring value to the property, because it's not just one thing, but it's like a host of things that make you successful at your hotel. All right, so we talked about kind of I'm gonna, maybe at the end I'll share this webinar that I was on a week ago, talking about all the technology that you could implement at your property and how the pre, during, and post works, and kind of a few pieces. So maybe I'll share that link on a YouTube channel that I was on that kind of explains that. But I think we talked about the during at the check-in. Now we're talking about during your stay. How do you communicate with guests that make it feel like that you care, your hotel cares, right? Hospitality is been a big thing where, these people talked to me, these people made me feel good, they did something for me, they offered me this one thing, or that's what they understood, they were empathizing with me and my family, and they gave me this upgrade. Like, how does this work when you're staying and you're making guests feel comfortable during these times?
Yeah, so like even going back to our core theme here, right, which is like doing more with less. So I think the whole theme that you're talking about is really, you have to deliver more hospitality with less human interaction. And previously, that's been two things that seem like they're kind of at odds with each other. But ultimately, technology is the way that you deliver more hospitality with less human interaction. So like one really cool tool that a company, Whistle, in the messaging space is developing right now, and it'll be live in the next week and a half, is they are giving the ability for a live video check-in experience. So
video check-in.
When you land in destination or the morning of your stay, you're going to get an option in your pre-arrival text or email that basically allows you to chat with the front desk, where they can then like remotely tell you about the protocols they're taking on coronavirus. They can tell you about the local area and give you that face-to-face experience in a really personal way, and basically augment that, that check-in experience that may not have someone behind the front desk. And even if they are, they're probably not going to be as friendly or personable as they were before. And so this allows also for your team as front desk agents, like, we all thrive on these human interactions.
Yeah.
And we don't have them now. And so it's pretty demoralizing and hard. And I'm sure for a lot of you guys to like not interact with guests, like that's what we love, that's what we thrive on. And so this gives, a tool like this will give you the ability to have those face-to-face interactions, to build the relationships in a safe way that lets guests feel comfortable and do it on their terms.
So it's kind of like a Zoom for pre-check-in.
Exactly. So it just kind of pops up there. It looks,
or concierge.
Even like a FaceTime. Yeah, really, the interface looks a lot like, FaceTime on your phone, where you just kind of click it. It sends you into a queue. It's directly integrated with your PMS. So you as a hotelier instantly know who that guest is, when they're coming, what their booking is, what their history is with you. So it's a really, really cool way to kind of build that personalization and maintain the level of experience that you need to differentiate in really competitive markets that are going to come back, unfortunately, pretty slowly here.
Yeah, and I love that we're kind of adding this kind of idea to people, because there's a lot of people. I'm reading at the comments. So if I'm not looking at you, Jordan, I'm reading the comments because I want to understand what people are saying. And guys, we've been on for 48 minutes now. Has this been informative to you? Like, have you liked this conversation? Because we're going to get into some of the vectors and some of the things that really make a difference. And there's 4 that we talked about before the show. And guys, comment, and remember, we're giving away before the end of the show, we're giving away a $100 gift card. So please comment and let me know if you have enjoyed this so far. I think it's a great opportunity. I've written down at least 15 tools right now, Jordan, that I can kind of do research on to see if it makes sense for me to incorporate into my properties.
Yep.
I think you guys can too, because there's so many different tech enabled things that you could do at your property, no matter what size you are. If you're a luxury hotel, you do one thing, or like 10 things, or if you're an independent hotel with just 10 rooms, right? And you still want to provide that great touch point. You want to provide that hospitality, but you want to make sure that they're safe and that you're doing the things that makes your guest feel comfortable. And these are some of the tools that you can use. So guys, comment and let me know if you've liked this so far. People are saying very informative, very good. Guys, thank you so much for joining this conversation. All right, so let's get on to the 4 vectors, because I think it's important we start with booking, right? Can we start there, where like you're looking at booking, and guys, I highly recommend, I talked about this last week in the marketing episode, was, you know, you're changing your entire marketing focus on and what you're saying as far as your descriptions and what you're talking about based on what the guests are looking for right now, right? There might be guests that are planning to come to your city, or they're planning to host something or visit your city because of a wedding, something in the future. They're planning that right now, or they're thinking about it. So what you're saying on your marketing message makes a huge difference, and that's the booking process. So Jordan, what tools and technologies that you think are going to happen in the future can people think about right now?
So the big theme there is obviously, like, you know, you need to get more bookings with less web traffic. Like, there's less people searching for travel right now, and yet you need bookings more than ever to pay, you know, the mortgage on your property and to pay your staff. And so how do you do that? You know, in digital marketing, it's a widely known concept that what we say is the biggest gains come at the bottom of your funnel. And so imagine you're spending $1 million. You know, I have a friend out here who runs a media company that spends $100,000 a day on Facebook ads. Now, if his website doesn't convert, it converts at a 1% versus a 2% rate. That 1% spread is massive for him. It's like the casino spread, right? And so what you want to do is you want to focus on, say, hey, of the people who land on my website, before I start thinking about getting more people to the website, am I converting enough people here? And so the concept in digital marketing and kind of for like tech guys like us is like, it's conversion rate optimization. So CRO, and there's a lot of great resources out there to learn about CRO and A/B testing and all these things that you can do. But ultimately, there's some really great kind of plug and play tools for hotels to do this. So the first place you start, like the very bottom of the funnel, is your booking engine. So if you like, you know, and this is something where we see reviews coming on the site and for other systems, and a lot of times the way that we verify that people are hoteliers is by looking at their website, and we kind of get curious and look at the booking engines we're using. And I'm shocked at some of the things that I see. If you look at, you know, an e-commerce platform like, you know, Amazon or even Nike's website, like, it will get you what you want as quickly as possible. And the whole thing is like one-click checkout, right? And so you need to get as close to one-click checkout or Amazon Pay checkout as possible for your hotel, so that once you get your guests into your booking engine, that the very bottom of your funnel, as many as, like, if someone gets there, they're pretty damn set on booking at your property, right? Like,
hold on. You gave away, or you offered some great insight. A lot of hotels and a lot of people don't know that you can use Amazon as a checkout payment processor for anything that you sell. I buy stuff online that has nothing to do with Amazon. It's a payment processor, just like PayPal or Stripe or any of those companies that you can add on, pay with your Amazon account, right? 100%. And that's powerful, because they're already trusting Amazon. They're already buying stuff every single day from Amazon. So this is just like one thing that you can think about when you're trying to go through that booking process and trying to figure out your booking engine, right?
Yep, 100%. And every click counts when it comes to conversion. And we all know this intuitively, that if you make me click 3 things to buy something from you, I'm going to buy less stuff than if I have to click 2 things or 1 thing. And so sometimes it's harder to see and we don't really focus on it, but like, that is like, especially for the hotels with more direct business, like, that is that is a gold mine. And it is so freaking easy and low cost to get a new booking engine for your property. And there's some really, really great ones out there that focus on that conversion optimization. So like, you want to look at, you know, from a technical side on Google Analytics, you want to look at load speeds, you want to look at conversion rate, you want to look at time on site, average order value, and those will kind of guide you through. But at the same time, like, there's actually, and it's a little bit harder to do today, because what you need to do is user testing. You need to go out, like traditionally you would go out to Starbucks, and this is literally what we do for our website. Go out to Starbucks and we say, hey, you're buying the hotel software. You need to find, here's what a property management system is. You need to find one on our site. and we'll literally like say, I'll buy you coffee and like, just, can I sit over your shoulder and be kind of awkward? Cause that's what I do, I guess. And watch you book. And you can, and if you do 5 or 7 of those, it's not like a million that you need to do. You start to pick up on things like, oh, they're confused at this process, or like the room inventory, like layouts aren't really clearly marked, or they can't tell that this one's 530 square feet and this one's 700 square feet. So they aren't willing to pay a premium. So you have all these variables that like, you don't think about when you're just like, oh, we have a booking engine. Like you talked about, Rupesh, like, oh, I'm just going to like do whatever my friend did. Right. And you need to be like really analytical, because this is a huge, huge profit driver for your business starting at the bottom of the funnel. And so really comparing the different solutions, asking the right questions. We've got buyer's guides on the booking engine section of our website that will kind of guide you through what you need to be asking those providers to vet them. We also have a lot of that information on the site for you. So that's really where I start, is like all the way at the bottom of the funnel. And then as you kind of get further up the funnel, you're like, okay, well, how do I continue to get more bookings with less web traffic? Okay, so I'm gonna go to my website. On your website, there's some great tools, and these tools actually span across your booking engine. Direct booking tools like Hotel Champ and TripTease that will basically do all of the optimization for you, and they use data analytics from their portfolio-wide properties to say, oh, this offer works really well in this market, so that you don't have to be doing that on a day-to-day basis. And so they can actually basically go and help you optimize your site and your conversion rate in real time. Guess what? That is a line of code that goes into your booking engine, your website. And Rupesh, to your point, there's literally nothing that you have to do as a hotelier. All you have to do is install the code. Super low cost tools that are great ways to improve your conversion rate. And guess what? They're going to actually give you numbers at the end of each month and show you what the impact was on your website. And you're going to find these are like some crazy, crazy ROI tools. And then the last piece is like, on your website, one of the things that we implemented, and like we're around on live chat 24/7 to help you guys as you're thinking through some of these considerations. If there's questions that you have, just click that live chat button on Hotel Tech Report and we'll help you out. But hotels are implementing live chat. So, what you find is that, and I know that you had Ask Suite on the show, I think last week maybe, and Whistle's doing some great work in this space too. But basically, like the guests on your website are going to have recurring questions, and like ask your front desk agents, they know this. And over time, what these live chat tools do is they have chatbots, and it's like, this isn't crazy like AI, NLP, like natural language processing. Like this is pretty basic stuff. It's like, if someone asks, do you have a pool? Like they should be able to answer that question really quickly. And if you can't, and just like you can't like upgrade your hotel in 30 minutes, you have to do some development work on your website and some infrastructure work. So the easiest way to answer that question for a guest is to have live chat there. But obviously that takes resources from your property. So having a live chat with a chatbot on your property website will allow you to start automating the responses from those questions over time. And basically what it does is it goes down a decision tree. It says like, can we answer this question, yes or no? If yes, it answers it automatically. If no, it routes you into the human. And so basically what that allows you to do is provide that level of service without straining your team, especially as part of your team is furloughed or unfortunately laid off at this time. You're understaffed. You're probably thinking, I don't want to add this because I don't have the resources to talk to more guests. And that means I'm delivering a bad experience. But like chatbots are pretty basic stuff today, and they can, and even more importantly, like the requests that guests have are pretty basic. And if you work with a dedicated chatbot that's built for hospitality, like the ones we talked about, they will be able to answer those questions. And in a matter of like 3 months, they'll be able to answer 95% of the questions that your guests will have.
Right. So here are my tips for the people that are just trying to get it started or understanding chatbots. First thing right now you could do today, right now, is go back to your FAQs, frequently asked questions, and update all those for the questions that you think are going to be being asked right now. Like, is your hotel safe? What are you guys doing for precautions? Is your pool open? How many people are you letting into the gym? Is your gym open? Like all these questions that people have right now, do those right now. But then the next step is, guess what? Not all those, you can't answer like 100 questions in your FAQ. Maybe the top 10 or maybe the top 5 or 10, right? You don't want to have this long website. But I love that you could do chat bots to answer some of these other questions that are not like the norm, right? And then you were talking about the live chat that you guys do on your website and I do on my website, where if somebody has a question, how good does it feel? And this is a conversion optimization hack, right? How good does it feel when you're booking on an engine or you're booking on someone's website that you could talk to somebody, right? And before they even book, and I love that you could pop up a little window if they wanted to and have like a video chat with the person, right? And I love all those tools that make people feel really comfortable. And now they know it's not like some you're not booking from, you know, a person that's in another country that they don't know the hotel and all that stuff, but it's a person on property that understands exactly what the property has to offer, and because they're in it right now. And I love that you can make a connection, like, hey, I'm Rupesh, I work at this resort, and yeah, I'm here right now. Look, watch the video, look, check out the sunset right here. Or something like that, right? And that's what video and chat, or that's what chat can do, and then along with adding that video component. I love that you could do that, and that converts people over than just reading a question, then, or like a TripAdvisor question, right? And then waiting like days for it to answer.
Yeah, and you know, we do it on our website with Intercom, so we actually combine those two. So we have some pretty complex questions that come in that require nuance and really thoughtful, long answers, which is going to be a little different from the queries that hotels will usually get. So every time someone asks us a really in-depth question, we write an article like you're saying, and then you can actually, with Intercom, you can type into the knowledge base. You say, like, you know, you type in pool, and it pops up the article about, do we have a pool? And so, like, you literally don't have to type it up over and over again, and it really saves a lot of time. The one thing to look for really on the hotel side is you want to have a direct integration with your booking engine. And so, like, you want them to be able to say, like, we have a family of 5 and we need 2 rooms, and they want them to be able to say the standard, like the really kind of curated hotel stuff, and make it transactional, so that basically what like Ask Suite and Whistle will do is it will pre-populate all the information in the booking engine. So they'll click a button to the booking engine and everything's already in there. So again, it's really about, like, how do you remove as many steps as possible for that guest from the time that they are on your website into the time that their booking engine says, we're looking forward to see you at, you know, at our property.
Yeah. I mean, making people feel comfortable right now is gonna be the biggest thing. It's that feeling you get from confidence of booking at this particular property, instead of like, oh, I see they have decent reviews, but I want to save this money and I want to do all these things, but can they offer this? And you don't know, because right now nobody's updated descriptions, which I highly recommend. Go back to all your descriptions on all your channels and update those, because that's a huge marketing hack right now. Your competition's not doing this, right? Go out and change out all your descriptions to say summer 2020, we're keeping you safe, right? And some along those terms, and then use technology around it to really make people feel comfortable, like chat bots. And we haven't used chat bots yet, and I'm talking to Paula at Ask Suites, so maybe we get to test something. And I love that it's just a plug and play. Like, it's not like hard software that they have to write and it takes weeks and all that stuff. It's like, enter it, right? And there's a lot of other great chat software out there that you can just try out to see if it even works. So what's a one that's free that any business can own?
There's one called Talk, T-A-W-K, that's like not really hospitality specific. There's one called Drip. Yeah, there's quite a few free ones, and I think you're absolutely right, Rupesh. I mean, like, to some extent, the hospitality driven ones are actually pretty affordable, but you always want to start light and, like, and validate that there's actually, like, a problem that you can solve that problem. And so I think starting with a free one and just, like, until you get to that point where, like, wow, we're overwhelmed with queries, or, oh man, we missed like 1,000 opportunities in the last 6 months to, like, convert bookings on here because we had to send them to the booking engine. We don't know whether they booked or not. Like, that's the time we're like, okay, we need to really double down and invest in this. But, you know, the really interesting thing about technology right now, guys, is these vendors are in the same position that you're in, right? Like, you're closed, and, you know, you're their clients, and so they're hurting as much as you are. And the best thing that you can do is support them so that they can come out of this stronger and innovate for you, and have that competition that Rupesh is talking about that's building new features. And the really interesting thing is, a lot of them, they're responding to you. They understand what you're going through, and they're extending their free trials to 90, 120 days. So never again in history will you be able to get free hotel software like you can get today, and get extended trials so that you can really understand it. So, like, if you're going to try live chat for your site and a chatbot, like, now is the time to do it, because you're gonna have 90 days to validate whether that adds value for you. And those technology companies that we've mentioned will go out of their way to show you how many bookings those platforms drove, how they're adding value, build that relationship with you, because they know what you're going through, and they want to be there by your side. So this is the, you know, there's obviously, like, the challenging part for hotel technology of, like, a lot of the technology companies in our space are struggling because you guys are struggling, but it's also the golden age, because all these legacy contracts are getting wiped out, and you have the flexibility to get out of a bad relationship with a vendor and to try new ones for almost no cost. And, like, you're never going to have this opportunity again.
Yeah, especially if you're stuck into a long-term contract where, you know, right now there's an opportunity to be for everybody to be flexible and just try things. And I love that there's so many tools out there right now that you didn't have 5, 10 years ago,
Yeah,
that you can really try out and see if it doesn't work, move on to the next one. Try something. And then, you know,
100%.
with the chatbot thing that we're talking about is, you know, you don't have to be there. I love that you do not have to be there with chatbots. With the live, guess what? You don't have to be at your hotel either.
Yeah,
So my live chats come to my phone or somebody on my team's phone, and it pops up like in a notification, and you click on, you start answering and talking to somebody live right through your phone,
yeah,
right? And
100%.
if you have, and I love that there's opportunities like that to convert people that are searching for rooms right now or searching for their next vacation, here in the near future as things open up. All right, so now I want to go through the tech side of cleaning and housekeeping, because I think that's going to be big. It's going to be huge.
Yep.
And I know there's some companies that you guys are have on your website, and that you've been talking to. What
Yep.
are some things in the housekeeping side that has to do with technology?
Yeah, so I mean, like the coolest and unexpectedly most sophisticated kind of tech in the housekeeping space is really about automated room assignments. And so like there's actually like it's very challenging to figure out, okay, well, if you have like a VIP guest come in and you want to expedite that room, or you have another guest that that isn't looking for a room cleaning right now, like how do you kind of play that game of musical chairs as a housekeeping manager? And the average housekeeping manager spends like 2 hours a day on just this kind of activity and coordination.
Yeah.
And so like technology is really helped housekeeping managers save a lot of time, become a lot more efficient, be better at their jobs. And then the kind of like end functionality that's like you said, Rupesh, now you can be a housekeeping manager off property and manage all this. So like, just like we're working remote, like the housekeeping manager doesn't need to be in that back office in the hotel that they probably don't want to be in anyways, and they'd love to work from home for a day. And there's no reason that they really have to be there. And like, that's what we're seeing in all industries. And if you have the right technology in place, your housekeeping manager can actually do a better job off property where they're happy, they're creative, than they can do on property. And certainly there's things that they'll need to do to come to property, and it's not a fully remote gig, and it never will be.
Still gonna have to inspect rooms and build your team up, right? And that's still part of like
100%, 100%. And a lot of those inspections can happen via, taking pictures of the different checkpoints that's in the software that you can actually review that. And so obviously you need to train your team on how to do that remotely. And there's a different level that's needed. But I'm really talking about now when you don't like you're kind of putting off some of your cleaning protocols. Like you're only cleaning rooms on, check in and check out. Like what are the ways that you can kind of shift staff and be more efficient? And it really goes back to what we talked about. It's like technology basically helps us create processes to do everything that we do better. The human brain can only process so many things and hold on to so many things at one given time. And what housekeeping software, engineering software, they kind of work in tandem. What they allow us to do is systematize our SOPs and digitize our SOPs so that there's no question about like, do I need to check this? Or the housekeeper doesn't need to stop and write something down on a clipboard. And it really just helps standardize everything. And the other piece is like, you can track performance, you can track turn time. So like, and what we talked about earlier, like bring on technology that helps you for the long run. Don't just bring on that Band-Aid solution right now, which is what I think a lot of us are guilty of, historically, which is kind of why we are where we are. Bring on the technology that sets you up for the future. And if you have that ability to standardize those SOPs, to track things, you're going to have it in place now, and it's going to enable you to do your job, and it's par for the course. But moving forward, you're going to be able to track efficiency of different housekeeping attendants, room cleaning attendants, and you're going to be able to find out what are the things that some do better than others, and you're going to be able to basically decrease those turn times. You're also going to decrease anxiety. Like that is like housekeeper is the hardest job in this industry. It's no secret, right? Like don't make it harder for them by having them write down on a clipboard and try to remember what they're supposed to do.
Hurry up.
Exactly. If you have a very intuitive consumer app that they just it pops up on their phone, you need to like tuck the bed corners, check. You need to check the HVAC, check the HVAC, just make sure that things are working, check. Like all these things, or the thermostat. So like all these things that you need to remember, it causes emotional anxiety. It's taxing on us, right? And so put it right in front of them, make it really easy to use. Like, Apple has been so good at it. And I think a lot of companies in our space are making it's no longer guesswork. It's no longer stressful. Like they can focus on what they're there to do, which is make sure that room is as clean as possible for guests, especially now. and leave the other kind of anxiety-ridden parts of the job off of them. And you're going to find that that retains them better, it keeps them happier, it keeps them there longer, which means less recruiting on your part, less turnover, better service, better culture because you have the same team on property. And so like the digital side, again, it's like it improves hospitality. It doesn't take away from it. And that's been the fundamental misconception in our industry is there's like a trade-off. But what technology allows us to do is it frees humans up to do the stuff that humans are really good at and uniquely good at. And I think housekeeping is one of those areas where you can create a much better work experience and on-property experience for your housekeepers. You could create a much more efficient, supercharged housekeeping manager, and you can lower costs over the long term. And like there's the concept of kind of lean production and Kaizen, which is constant iteration. Well, if you are tracking things manually in an analog way, there's no way that you can try, okay, like let's make the beds like this tomorrow and see what the impact is. Well, guess what? With a tool like Alice or Core, you can see how that affects turn time. And you can actually have a chat log between your housekeepers of like, we really like this, or we really hated this, or like this made us less efficient. It allows you to gather intel from them on new techniques and tactics that you're using. And again, all physical things, but the digital helps you do those physical things better.
Yeah, and I think that we're not saying that get rid of your entire team and then you only use technology to run your hotel. I still think that hospitality still needs people in it, and I still 100%. Think that there's a connection of connecting. This is an opportunity for the housekeeping department to make stronger connections with their staff, stronger connections with their guests. Right, this is an opportunity now that they, instead of spending 2 hours trying to figure out who. You go check rooms if you're a housekeeping supervisor, right? On a few floors or whatever you're assigned to. That's more opportunity for customer satisfaction, cleanliness, all those things that matter for every hotel out there, right? That's totally. You get to focus on the basics more with technology. And I love that you can do that with things that are some of the cool. All right, what else is in housekeeping that's cool?
Yeah, so there's a company out of Dallas that's called Pure Rooms. So they have a 7-step patented process to basically sanitize rooms. So everything from the air vents to the surfaces, they have like this the spray that they put on desks and remotes and stuff that keeps some of the viruses and bacteria and germs off of those kind of heavily trafficked areas of your hotel room. They have proprietary carpet cleaning methodologies, and so like that's one way that you can provide, when we talked about that demonstrable seal of cleanliness. That's a way that a lot of hotels, they have hundreds of hotels that are using them to date, and more that becomes really important to guests to see that you have that kind of pure stamp of approval. The other one would be a company called, and so for full disclosure, like Pure Rooms was not really designed for this use case, but it does act to mitigate a lot of the kind of germ and virus transfer. It's not 100% foolproof solution, but it provides a level of, it shows the guest that you're taking that extra step, and it does mitigate the risk of that transfer. And then the one that was really designed for this, but more in a hospital, not hospitality environment and healthcare, is a company called Xenex that basically it's this like super kind of geeky looking robot that like crawls up in your room, close the doors, these UV lights come out, and it's like designed to kind of evaporate all of those germs. And so that's going to, obviously that's a more costly alternative, but is proven to be really effective in this kind of scenario. And obviously, even with a lot of the drugs we're testing, we're still learning on the fly. But those are some ways that you should really start exploring, like how can you provide that next level of sanitation, and are those things financially feasible for you? And what was really expensive and kind of it seemed really expensive or like wouldn't have been a feasible investment 6 months ago. Well, guess what? If you can get those incremental bookings because you are able to effectively market that you've taken those steps, those are going to pay for themselves, basically.
Yeah. So here's a Xenex. I just pull up. We're not partners with anybody. I don't know any of those people, any of those guys, but I pulled it up because it was actually pretty cool when I saw it. I'm like, oh wow! And I know hotels that are using this. That actually it's a thing that you roll in. It's kind of like the heater that you put in the room to kill bed bugs. It's kind of like the thing that you put in, like the ozone machine that you put in to kind of stop the smell. Right. This goes in and zaps light, ultraviolet light into the room and kills. It's supposedly supposed to kill germs and bacteria and some of those things. And guys, go to the website to understand it. I think it's pricey, but a lot of hospitals are using it and hotels are testing it out to see if it does anything for them. And I think it's just an opportunity for us to understand what else is out there, because there's so much out there right now that
and also you can get creative. I mean, Rupesh, we were talking about your WhatsApp thread with a bunch of local kind of owners in your area. And
yeah,
could you split the cost of a device like this with some other owners so that you could bring it down and basically like move it between properties? Do you like, you really got to get creative on a cost perspective. And if there are things that seem out of reach, like, it's not the technology, it's the human again that needs to come in and get creative and solve those problems.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we're still giving away a $100 gift card. So please comment if you've enjoyed this. I'm going to be looking now to pick somebody because we're almost wrapping up. And I know there's a few other, and if you have any questions, please ask them right now, because we're going to try to get to them. And if not, we'll try to get to them a little bit later. But this has been amazing. You have a lot of people on understanding technology and how it's going to transform the future of our hotels. And the next thing that I think a lot of people are interested in is the RevPAR part of the vector that we talked about earlier on. And how is that going to transform using technology? How's our RevPAR, our revenue, basically?
Yeah, exactly. So, you got to have higher RevPAR, occupancy, ADR with less revenue management resources. I'm sure on the branded side, you guys have all heard that, the Marriotts and Hiltons have laid off or furloughed a lot of their cluster revenue management teams. Revenue managers on property have kind of been unfortunately the first to be furloughed, because if you don't have revenue, what is there to really manage? But then you also have this unprecedented time where you're going to come out of this crisis and the data from the past doesn't tell you a lot about the future. And so you have absolutely no idea of how you should be pricing, these rooms. So from a revenue management perspective, I think it's really about, if you have a provider that you really like, working closely with them to understand how they're going to support you. So like, there's Ideas, which is, the largest revenue management company in the space that is providing full-on consulting services for clients. And they could even provide like outsourced revenue management services to get you there until you bring your revenue management team back. There's also some cool new startups like a company called Atomize out of Sweden that is fully global now, and they provide real-time Atomize. They provide real-time price optimization. And so basically what that does is it allows you to adapt to the market automatically. And so they have a bunch of hotels that have revenue managers and a bunch that don't. So if you need a stopgap and you need something that can automatically kind of keep in line with the market, I think a solution like that is really good. And really vetting, we have our revenue management section. You can kind of get custom recommendations based on your geo and your requirements on Hotel Tech Report. But really looking for that real-time price optimization is going to be critical coming out of this, because the data doesn't tell us anything. Like last year's results are not going to help us price for this year, unfortunately. And so, it's working with your revenue management provider to understand how they're adapting to that. And again, this gets into the software as a service. Like if you have a revenue management provider who doesn't pick up your calls, well, there's no way they're going to coach you on how to price in this time. And they're learning from thousands of properties. They're learning from different markets. They're in China, they're in Europe, they're in Latin America, they're in the US. So like they're seeing all these different booking curves evolve. And that's where the service comes in, and they really become a partner and like a strategic partner for your business. They're an extension of your hotel. And that's why the software is so critical, and why it's not, again, like buying a table. Like this is an extension of your team. And they're gonna make you better at your job. And so the other piece, and I don't know, do you have anything else on revenue management or revenue management systems?
I'm actually reading all the comments here. So I think there are some questions. Hang on, let me pull them up real quick. I just saw it. Guys, you guys are asking a lot of good questions and really being engaging here on this. How do you prioritize revenue generating technologies, business intelligence, RMS versus I have to continue reading, versus that don't drive direct revenue, but enhance the experience? I like contactless check-in. Yeah. Like, how do you prioritize that?
Like, how do you prioritize if you have X dollars to spend and you can only spend on one? Where do you spend? So like one thing, and it kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. And obviously this is a short-term fix, but like Atomize, the example that I brought up, they are giving their software away for free until you hit 50% occupancy. And so they want you to be profitable as a partner. And so basically, like working with a provider like that, you really don't need to make that decision now. And that kind of goes back to like, if you were going to try technology, like now is the time to really do it, because you don't have those guests. You have much less risk in implementation, and working with a flexible partner and someone who really shows that like we care and we want to align our incentives as much as we can with you guys is super important. as far as like prioritizing, I mean, it kind of gets back to that philosophy of like bottom of the funnel. Like if you can't provide a safe experience to guests, if you can't provide that contact list, you're kind of being irresponsible in attracting them there. And so I would say start there. One of the interesting things that we're seeing here in LA is like in the movie industry in Hollywood, they're looking to open the next Christopher Nolan movie as like the movie that brings back the theaters, right? And at the same time, the studios are all working from home. So there's this conflict of like, if we're working from home, how could we market a movie to tell people to go to theaters? You know what I mean? And so I think for hotels, like when it comes to prioritization, like always prioritize the safety of your guests, and like even beyond the hotel industry, like it's the responsible thing to do as a society. And even just thinking about like, even if you were just like full on greedy capitalist, which, you know, I am obviously, like even if that's your mentality on the world, like we all need to contribute to bringing society back as quickly as possible and having those safety protocols and operations. It's not about the guest experience, like the kind of like bells and whistles. It's about like get the basics in, and then I'm 100% focused on revenue acquisition, some of the stuff we were talking about earlier. And then there's areas that kind of bridge the gap. So upselling software is kind of the bridge between guest experience and revenue management, right? It's this TRevPAR, total RevPAR. If you have, and you have less guests on property and you need more revenue, kind of going back to the less is more, you need to get more revenue from every guest. How do you do that in a way that can improve the guest experience? There's upselling software like Oki and Nor1. There's some great tools that will basically allow you to, they'll
Is it
allow you
on property, like during stay upselling?
Pre-stay and during stay. And a check-in. So basically you'll get an email that says, and I'm sure we've all got these before. It's like, do you want to upgrade to a king suite for another $52 per night? And you can book it right there. It needs to integrate with your PMS so that everything could be automated. And so those will provide a really good TRevPAR uplift. Now there's a couple challenges with those right now. The challenges are, one, if you don't have anyone staying at your hotel, it's hard to upsell them. And it's hard to have a real impact. So you really need to get to a certain level of occupancy for those to really start kicking in. But hey, like they're offering free trials. This is the time to install and get those processes. So once you hit that, that profitability mark, you're going to start skyrocketing and be able to get more from every guest that comes to your property, because realistically, we're not going to be at occupancy levels that we were 6 months ago for quite some time now. So you need to get more from every guest. Now's the time to invest in that upselling software. And then, the next piece is really the challenges that a lot of the upsell offers that historically these softwares have provided are now shut down, like F&B credits, spa, fitness kind of activities, tourism activities in local area. And so you just need to adapt to that. And, whether it's the things you need to be upselling change. And so maybe it's a early check-in or late checkout or a room upgrade. So you need to focus on those things. And again, this comes back to that theme of like software as a service. A company like Oki is working with thousands of hotels around the world on offers.
How do you spell that?
OAKY.
Okay.
And so they work with thousands of hotels around the world. And what they can do is they can say, these are the offers that are working in these markets. And again, they're looking across markets and something that you can't do. So maybe they're in Germany where things are opening up a little more. Or maybe they're in China or Singapore where things are already open. And they can provide you the right offers for the right stage of your business that you as a person just operating a tool would never know. Like there's no way for you to test that at scale. And so working with a partner, again, you need to be able to pick up the phone, call them, have a great account manager who's super friendly and responsive, and they'll coach you through a lot of that with the data that they're seeing on their end. So again, it's much more than just the software. It really is that service component for the technology, and I think that's what makes it like not scary anymore. It's not like back in the day, there's one of the investors in Whistle, Dave Burkus, who invented Fosse. Actually, like the way that he initially licensed Fosse to Marriott was like they just basically like he licensed the lines of code to them, and he's like, you're on your own. And like that's how like, and Marriott liked it because they could control it, and obviously there's some challenges with that. But it was like, take the code and you're on your own. And today that's absolutely not the case. It's like, here's the code today, here's where we're going tomorrow, and we're going to be there every step of the way to make sure that you optimize this software. And that's what's beautiful about a monthly subscription. It lowers the costs, it keeps vendors accountable, and allows you to switch if they're not providing the right service. And that's what's so beautiful, and I think is really unlocking a lot of innovation in hotels.
Awesome. Well, hey, this has like been, I've written down like 3 pages full of notes, Jordan. It's like just a bunch of pages of notes. I think it's awesome that there's so many different ways to be flexible right now, as far as just technology, the way you provide service, the way you operate your property. I think there's so many different things out there, and and sometimes you can get boggled with all the things that that hotels can get confused with.
Yeah.
And your website, hoteltechreport.com, actually provides a resource for people to review. So kind of explain really quickly what people can expect when they're trying to figure out like a chat bot, or they're trying to figure out a live chat, or they're trying to figure out these resources. What does your website do to kind of clear their mind and kind of get the right answer?
Yep, totally. So we kind of help you throughout the buyer journey. So let's say like we have a blog that we've got tons of hoteliers on every day that we're creating content to just generally educate you on a lot of stuff we're talking about here today, Rupesh, so that you can understand how technology is evolving at a high level in hotels. So like that's a great way to just keep a pulse on what's happening, what's new in the market, new products. And so that's like for the person who's just kind of like passively wants to learn. And then if you're, let's say that you're looking for a specific solution, but you don't really know where to start, we have free buyer's guides on the site. So basically guiding you through, we basically like what we call is like productize the smartest hotel tech buyers. And we give you a guide that walks you through exactly all the considerations that you need to know. And then once you get through that buyer's guide, you'll know more of what to look for and what to ask from those vendors. So you can go into that category on the page. You could read reviews and see what real people like you are thinking about it. You could actually see, is it a general manager from Sarasota, or is it a front office manager from Tampa? You can see all of those different variables that show you like what people like you think. And then we also provide, so once you're at that stage, we can provide custom recommendations. So based on the reviews in our database, you'll say I'm a 37-room bed and breakfast in Milan, Italy, and we'll query our database of reviews and show you the best guest messaging software for you based on what people like you are saying about that product. So again, it's all based on data that's in the platform, making those reliable recommendations that you can trust. And then the last piece is, it's a huge pain in the butt to reach out to 10 vendors and get quotes, kind of like my marketing manager who brought me one digital marketing agency. It's a huge pain in the butt, right?
Yeah.
And how do you compare them and all that stuff? So what we do is we have like an RFP tool where you basically go into guest messaging. You can see a list of the providers and you can request demos and price quotes like instantly, and you can compare those quotes with each other. And you can also see side-by-side comparisons of those products while you're doing that. So it's really like, we try to do is like take the 700 hours of work that go into being a really smart technology buyer and help you guys do it in a way that takes 10, 15 minutes. And if you want to be really diligent and really browse our site, a couple of hours, and you can really make an informed decision, excuse me, and connect with vendors in real time. And ultimately, like, our goal is to help you examine all the possibilities, understand what's going on without needing to be a technology expert. Again, it's about the human side. It's about understanding the level of service. And we're going to help you guys get the best vendors for the best price and understand everything that's out there. Because honestly, like, we don't care who you choose. Like, we want, like, the only thing that we want is for you guys to choose the solution that's best for you so that you come back to our site and choose another great solution the next time you're in the market. And so we're 100% aligned in that. We don't, like, it's 100% free for hoteliers, and we're here to help. We've also got live chat on the site, so you can reach someone from our team and ask specific questions in areas where we're not responding. And Rupesh, like you said about live chat and kind of answering those queries, when you guys ask those questions, we write articles to help you answer them, and then we'll point you guys in the right direction so we get better and better over time. So feel free to ask away.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've read plenty of your articles. So you guys do a great job at publishing blogs and articles on specific things for specific type categories in our space, and especially technology. And then I like that you're letting people understand what they need instead of just telling them what they need. And you guys, what do you compare yourself? Like, are you the TripAdvisor of hotel software, or what do you?
Exactly.
How do you compare it?
No, that's a great analogy. That's exactly what we are. And one thing that you guys can do while you have some downtime is write reviews of the software companies that you use on property. Like, come together as an industry, like, talk about what you're experiencing, whether it's good or bad. Like, if it's good, then you want to promote that vendor and help support them so they can grow their business further and innovate more for you as a client. And if they're bad, you want to show them that, like, there's a level of accountability in the market, kind of like the Better Business Bureau for hotel software in that respect. Yeah. And ultimately what you're doing is you're contributing information as crowdsource information as a group, so that you could help your peers and make better decisions. Just like Glassdoor, the more information you give to the system, the more value your peers get. And I think there's no better time to come together, share information, and really act as a community hub and share that, so that we can innovate and make sure that coming out of this, we're not as reliant on the OTAs as we were in 2008, 2009 coming out of that, and we're not as susceptible to disruption as we were when Airbnb and VRBO launched. And everyone's hurt in our industry right now, and this is the time for us to take back relative power. And technology is the absolute easiest, low cost, most effective way to do that.
Well, I commend what you and your brother have built. It's awesome, and your entire team. Thank you so much for coming on. And I know we said we talked for 45 minutes, but we've been doing this for an hour and a half. So I really appreciate it. I'm sure tons of other people appreciate it. Guys, comment and hit the like button if you've enjoyed this conversation of at least 25 or 30 different things. It's probably 50 if we talked about all of them individually. And went through them all. There's so many opportunities here. I know you gave me a URL that I shortened for you just to make sure it's easy. It's tell us about this leaders report.
Yeah, so we have our Hotel Tech Index. Every year we have our annual Hotel Tech Awards, completely based on data in the platform. We help you guys quickly find the best solution provider across every kind of niche market. And so we have 27 different categories that are in the awards. So if you're looking for the best guest messaging software, if you're looking for the best property management system, we go into depth on each of those systems, how they impact your hotel, and we show you all the data that went into making those decisions. That report's completely free. And if you're kind of newer and dipping your toes in hotel tech, like that's a great place to start and just see everything that's out there.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Jordan, I really appreciate this. And guys, hit up hoteltechreport.com. And this is actually, I made a tiny URL or easy way to get to this report and to their to get you here. And then let me pull up their website, and it's hoteltechreport.com. Jordan, it's been a pleasure having you on, and I'm sure you're going to get a ton of traffic over there just to have people understand exactly what they want. So yeah, talk to you soon.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, see you, Jordan. All right, guys, what'd you think about this? This was an awesome conversation because, even for myself, I will always want to understand what's hot out there, what's going to change our business, and what is something that can improve our business, right? And I love that. And guys, thank you so much for all the comments on this hour and a half conversation, guys. I really appreciate it. And a couple things before we leave, I'm going to pick the winner of the $100 gift card. Please message me if you're the winner. And I've been reading on this side. I've been reading on this side. I have a bunch of chats going because we're live on LinkedIn, but we're also simulcasting on YouTube live. So if you want to go to my YouTube channel, go to youtube.com/Rupesh Live and watch all past 38 episodes of my show, and you'll be able to watch everything, even the top 50 hotel marketing tools that we did last week. You can rewatch it there, share it with your entire team and your network, and show them that there's a lot of value in what we're doing here. So guys, I appreciate that. I've been watching all the great comments here on and listening, because it's been like both sides. And the winner of the $100 gift card is Jackie Rosado. Congratulations, Jackie. You are our winner this week. Guys, next week I'm going to be giving away something big, and I'm excited about the guests that we're going to have on. So I'm super excited. Guys, please sign up for my new platform that's coming up. It is going to be, let me pull up, make sure I get this right because I don't want to mess it up. All right, it's a new membership site. It's rupesh.co. So www.rupesh.co is my new website that's coming here soon, and it's going to be it's a membership site that's going to offer a lot of different things. So leadership, customer service excellence on how to provide awesome service, marketing, which is a lot of things we talked about today as far as marketing messages, what you need to do to promote yourself and your hotel, and how to create a brand and all of those things. Guest feedback, which I am super excited and love this, because I've taken my property that was like 40 years old, that was old, and brought it to either the number 1 or number 2 spot within its brand or online. And I love that I could do that for you too. So I'm going to be sharing those insights and a lot of resources, checklists, all those things that you see here on social, but a lot more. So definitely go to rupesh.co and sign up to be registered. So when I launch, I'm going to send these people that signed up a direct message so you get it first. So definitely do that. And guys, thank you so much. I really appreciated all the wonderful people that have stuck around for an hour and a half and learned this. Now, I've been coaching people for the last couple of weeks now, and Chris yesterday told me that last week was an hour and 40 minutes, I think. And it was all about marketing. And he was like, listen, I listened to your entire show because I was on hold with collecting my unemployment. And people have been on for 12 hours sometimes trying to figure out how they're going to get their paycheck, right? Or how they're going to get a check from the unemployment office. And so he was like, I was on for 12 hours on hold, and your hour and 40 minutes was awesome because it kept me going and it didn't have me focus on this one thing that was driving me crazy. And so I'm happy to do this for you. I'm happy that I can keep inspiring you guys. And so, guys, thank you so much for this opportunity. And please hit up rupesh.co, and definitely the sponsor of the show is smartguests.com. Guys, I will see you here next week, next Wednesday at 9 a.m. 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, and I will see you then. Thanks, bye.